All the walls like going by so fast. Like I felt like they were like running to the OR. That's what it felt like. Hey y'all. We're not even gonna talk about the fact that
I haven't recorded a video in 7 years, so we're just gonna slide past that.
And I just wanted to tell a story or have some release when it came down to my pregnancy. I guess let's just jump right into it. I found out I was pregnant on March the 19th. Also, my husband's name is Morgan. He wanted to come with me to the appointment just to see baby. Just put a pin in this part. When we noticed that the pregnancy appointment was so quick, Morgan and I, we just agreed like, hey, you don't have to take off of work anymore. Just go to work. I will handle these appointments by myself. I'll just get it done. Stay at work. I'll just give you the play-by-play once I'm done. We agreed on it. I was at my 18 or 19 week appointment, and at this point I was going to my anatomy scan. The MFM, I don't know what the acronym stands for. I'll just say fancy OB. The fancy OB, he's seen everything. He was like, that your baby looks good. At this point we found out that we were having a boy, and he was like, the baby looks good, he looks healthy. And then he was focusing on my cervix a lot. He says to me, for some reason on the monitor it looks like that you might be contracting. Mind you, I'm 18 or 19 weeks at this point. I'm like, what? But as a safety precaution, I am going to get you coordinated or set up with someone else in this office who can do a cerclage surgery, just to be careful. And if you don't know, the cerclage surgery, it's just to keep your cervix shut so your baby does not come out prematurely. That's the goal. At this point, he was trying to get me arranged or scheduled with someone, and it wasn't working with that specific surgeon or whoever because they were out on vacation or they were off or something. Something was the reason why they were not able to do this surgery for me. He pulls me into some room and he sits me down and he says, I'm gonna make some phone calls to a couple of my friends to see who can get you in the soonest. We need to give you the cerclage surgery as soon as possible. He makes some calls. He finds someone to do the surgery all the way in UVA. I'm closer to Richmond, so UVA is maybe like an hour and a half away from my house. But me and my husband, we were just like, okay, whatever. We get to UVA July the 11th, and the woman comes in, she looks at me, she examines me, does a physical exam, and she sees that my son's foot was coming out. And me and my husband were like, what the fuck? Like, what do you mean his foot is coming out? So then she was basically telling us at the time that I can either just wait for him to just come out, or we can just abort him. And hearing someone tell you that you should just get rid of your child when you wanted to carry your child, that was a lot. That was a lot for both of us. She comes back in the room and we tell her, we are like, we don't want to give up. If we need to stay here overnight, if we need to stay here for however long it takes, she is just like, okay. You can always tell when a doctor's like, I wouldn't advise that, but you know, your body, your autonomy, you are in charge of your own autonomy. At this point, I was at UVA from July the 11th to July the 13th. And it was a matter of waiting for a surgeon who was comfortable to do the cerclage surgery. And it was mainly because at this point, it was like the same thing at the other OB, the MFM office. Like they were seeing on scans that I was contracting, but at this point they seen that I was dilated up until 3 centimeters. So it was just a matter of trying to find someone who was comfortable. But long story short, when it comes to that, they just weren't comfortable doing it. So they were just like, we're just gonna put you upside down. We're gonna try to use some gravity to get him back in there. So someone comes in, they look at me, they give me another physical exam, and they seen that he was back in. Okay, great, cool. So they sent me home after 2 days of being there. And my OB, she wanted to see me, I believe it was that following Monday. It was the 15th. So she looks at me and she sees that his foot is out again. His foot is poking out again. And I was like, fuck. She says, you know, I know you just went through all that, but I'm gonna have to send you down to labor and delivery. So she sends me down to labor and delivery that same day that she told me to come in to see her. And I'm breaking down again. I'm breaking down in the office yet again because I'm like, fuck. I was just on bed rest. Before I walked down to labor and delivery, I called my husband. I'm like, yeah, they're putting me back on bed rest. I'm going back down to labor and delivery. He doesn't really show his emotions to me a lot, so I didn't know how he felt. The goal was to keep me there until I was at least close to 22 weeks. Reason being is because the hospital that my OB works at, they resuscitate babies at 24 weeks. And the hospital that would resuscitate me at the gestational age that I was at the time was 22 weeks. So the goal was to get me to 21 weeks and 6 days. By the time I was 21 weeks and 6 days, she comes downstairs, she does the physical examination, and she sees that his foot is back in. So I'm like, yes. Get there, and a lot of people are coming in the room. Like people from all these different departments. All I know is so many people were coming in the room to talk to me. And specifically people from the NICU, they were just telling me like, hey, there's a high possibility that you could deliver early, but we're going to be here for you. We're going to make sure that your baby's going to be okay. We're going to do all that we can to make sure that your baby lives. Then I believe like the next day, they look at me again, they see him contracting, still see him at 3 centimeters. And they're just like, you know, it's completely up to you. We can do the cerclaw surgery if you're comfortable doing it. We're comfortable doing it as well, but we just wanted to let you know about the risk factors. And the risk factors were just like a lot of infections. The risk outweighed the goods for me, and I just wasn't willing to do it at that point. July 21st, I was feeling like pressure in my stomach. But the pressure, it was just getting more and more intense. But it wasn't painful. I just called the nurse. I was like, hey, I feel a lot of pressure right now. And then the nurse was just like, okay, all right, give me 1 second. And maybe 5 or 6 doctors come in. The OB, she does another physical exam. And this time she sees that my son's foot is all the way out. So they're like, you have to give birth right now. It's like one of those movie scenes, like if the person's in the bed and they're just sitting there and then they see like all the walls like going by so fast. Like I felt like they were like running to the OR. That's what it felt like. The nurse is asking, what's my husband's number? She's calling him, like she's telling him like, hey, she's about to deliver right now. I get to the OR. The doctor ordered for my nurse to give me the epidural. She was all over the place. Like I didn't get the epidural. The OB, she's now telling me to push. And I'm like, what do you mean push? My son is breech. I don't have an epidural. I pushed for maybe 8 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, and he was out. Just me and the doctor in the room. And then she says that I was bleeding a little bit, but it was probably because the placenta was still in, but she had to get it out. So she gets the placenta out. They wheel me back in my room. And I guess trigger warning. And they noticed that I was still bleeding. And I wasn't stopping. It was like a steady flow of blood. By the time I'm back in the room, Morgan is there. They're pressing on my stomach like repeatedly. And every time that they're pressing on my stomach, blood is rushing out. They kept doing it. It was so fucking painful. Every now and then I would like look down when they would push. And when I would look down, I seen blood. Like it was like a volcano erupting. I remember him holding my hand and he was just talking to me. And he just kept telling me that he loved me. They wheeled me back to the OR. And they're like, we gotta stop this because it's going to be bad. We have to stop this. They try to give me the epidural. They sit me up. I tell them I feel lightheaded. I don't feel good. And I said I feel like I have to throw up. They lay me down and I start throwing up. I guess I blacked out. I don't know what happened. I remember seeing some guy over me. He was from anesthesia and he was like, we have to put you to sleep to figure out what's going on. And all I remember is looking at him with so much fear in my eyes and asking him, am I gonna be all right? And am I gonna live? And he tells me, we're gonna do all that we can. He puts the mask over my face and tells me to take some deep breaths. And next thing you know, I wake up in the ICU with a tube in my throat. And I remember that night, everyone that was in that OR room after I was put to sleep, they came in and they were basically telling me what happened. They were telling me that they tried several different procedures to get the blood to stop, and the blood didn't stop. And someone had made the last random call to call radiology. They had put some sort of embolizing, I don't know what it's called. That was just to make my blood start clotting. So if whoever didn't make that call made that call, I would not be here. They told me I lost 2.5, 3 liters of blood. And of course my husband was there during the whole ICU shit. And okay, so obviously it's a different day. My hair is like this. My shirt is pink. And I'm better. The video yesterday, it was a lie. Long story short, even though the video is at like 22 minutes now, I had my baby. This is my bub. His name is Arbor. When I had him, he was 22 weeks and 2 days, and he only weighed 470 grams. Had him on July the 21st. He was due November the 22nd, so he was just super excited to see me and his dad. So as of today, in preemie talk, he is 4 months adjusted and 8 months actual. He is almost 11 pounds, and he's the cutest bubs ever. He's the cutest bubs ever. I'll insert a video and maybe some pictures of what he looked like when I first had him. But yeah, he was in the NICU for 8 months. He did 8 months in jail. But he's out and he's home, and that's really all that matters at this point. I'm just happy that he's here. But that's my birth story. Boy? Yeah.